Hey guys, what is going on? It's Jay Campbell from the TRT Revolution podcast, and of course the author of the definitive TRT manual. And I'm super excited today to be joined in studio by Benjamin Brown. So a lot of you guys, some of you guys probably know who Benjamin is, but I'll just give a brief introduction. So he is actually the founder of NSL 90 and also the co-founder at BSL Nutrition. So he owns a badass supplement company. He's also the owner of Body Systems Healing and Performance. And maybe his biggest claim to fame, and I'll let him discuss that on the podcast, is that he is also a performance and nutrition consultant for the Golden State Warriors. Benjamin, brother, how are you, man? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Well, Nelson Bergel, who's a good friend of mine, spoke very highly of you, in I guess the thing that you guys did together a couple months back with, Charles Poliquin, I can't remember, and somebody said, Jay, you should have him on your show. He's a really knowledgeable guy, blah, blah, blah. So totally stoked to have you here today. And we have a bunch of stuff we're going to get into. But first off, like I do with all my guests, I'd like to know a little bit about Benjamin Brown. Talk about who you are, how you got into this industry, and, speak as freely as you want.
Sure. So I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a business owner. And, I'm a health and nutrition and fitness consultant. And so it's sort of my mission to help as many people as possible become better versions of themselves, if you will. And in all capacities, my passion really is nutrition, but it's also finding ways to communicate with people such that we can facilitate those fitness and nutrition and lifestyle changes. And so that's what I've been focused on over the last 14 kind of plus years through school and all of that stuff.
Where did you go to school? Tell people a little bit about that. Your background.
So I went to University of Arizona undergrad, and I played rugby for U of A.
Awesome. Go Wildcats.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a really good experience for me. I've always been interested in sports, and I played football, and then I wasn't really that good at football. And so I joined the rugby team. And that was sort of more of my niche, but also it was like a really great brotherhood for me.
Awesome.
To be involved in the rugby program, kind of a fraternity, if you will. And
sure.
And that allowed me, one, to have some really great mentorship from an amazing coach. And that was sort of something that I really needed during that time in my life when I was just kind of like out partying a lot and trying to figure out what was going on. And so that really helped me kind of excel and get through school. And then when I got through undergrad, I had a major in physical education, which I didn't really know what I was going to do with, but I've always been interested in fitness and health and nutrition, like I said. And so I came up to Phoenix to go to ASU for a degree in exercise and wellness, for my master's degree. And so I got a master's degree in exercise and wellness, and it was kind of through that master's program that I was really thrown into the trenches to do kind of focus on strength and conditioning. Awesome. And basically, like my first day of orientation, I walked in and my mentors like, how would you like to work with athletes? And I was like, to be honest, I'd love to.
Sure.
And like I said, they just threw me in, and I was fortunate to be surrounded by some really great colleagues that were kind of on the cutting edge of sport performance, if you will. Like I said, this was in Phoenix at ASU. And so this is about the time when Athletes Performance, you remember Athletes Performance with Mark Verstegen? That was really what is now Exos, but they were really starting to blow up. And one of my colleagues had the opportunity to do an internship with them. And so he basically was taking everything that he was learning through Athletes Performance and plugging it in with our sports performance program at ASU. And so it was just a kind of great opportunity to learn and just find out, how to work with athletes, how to work with teams. I'd always been strength training, like through high school. I was always interested in strength training, and it always just kind of came naturally to me. So it was a perfect fit. And so that was my 2 years of having a great opportunity to just design programs for teams and learn the kind of the behavioral aspect of working with these young athletes and all of that stuff. And then from there, I just kind of transitioned into more personal training, more of a physical therapy basis, and then really started to dive into kind of nutrition because I was quickly realizing that, with personal training, obviously you're working more with the fat loss population, and these sport performance techniques weren't necessarily applicable. It was more like, okay, again, behavioral, like how can I create change with this person? Yes, we're doing strength training, but obviously, you and I know, and your listeners know, that the majority of fat loss comes with what you're doing the rest of the time, what you're putting in your mouth, and, all of that kind of stuff.
Awesome. So at that point, in that stage, in those 2 year, to position you, where did you go from there? So did you kind of, I know you said you were doing personal training, but did you launch the businesses that you're involved now, or did that come as later migration?
So then I basically launched Body Systems Healing and Performance, which is my personal training and consulting business. And then I put in I just logged hours, just practiced.
Sure.
And I was putting in year after year of training, working with general population clients, working on fat loss clients. I started to really get into.
And this is all in the Phoenix area, correct?
This is all in the Phoenix area, all in the Scottsdale area. I was working out of basically a couple gyms in Scottsdale. It's sort of an independent contractor.
Sure.
A lot of personal trainers do. And like I said, I really started to dive more into nutrition. I had some really phenomenal mentorship as I started to study more functional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I named my business Body Systems Healing and Performance because of, the various body systems that we work on in terms of like the adrenals and the digestive system and all of that kind of stuff, the immune system, and how relevant it is to the weight loss and health process. And at that time, I had really been digging deep into studying functional medicine with Dr. Dan Kalish he's in the Bay Area.
Okay.
But this was sort of one of his sort of long distance coaching programs. And so I started running lab tests with people and looking at adrenal health and kind of digging in at gut health and trying to understand all of that stuff and looking at detoxification pathways and how we can use nutrition to support those detox pathways. And so that was, in addition to, of course, the personal training and all of that stuff. And so there was several years there. I guess this was about 2007 through probably 2010 or 11, where I was really doing that and learning a ton, digging deeper into nutrition, but I was getting sicker and sicker clients, which,
right.
When you start to dig into the functional medicine realm and you can start to get people to improve, that's obviously a great thing, but I was kind of attracting the type of clientele that it's not that I didn't enjoy working with them, but I really wanted to create a little more massive change in a way that was going to be more receptive to the general population.
Sure. No. Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I mean, my next question was actually going to be the testing, because I've spoken to some people that do a lot of like insensitivity testing, gut biome stuff. How do you go about that, or how did you go about that at that time? I know it's obviously more advanced today. There's more labs out there doing these kind of testings, but who were you using at that time in its infancy to, even establish gut biome understanding at that point?
Yeah. So, through Dr. Dan Kalish, I established really good relationships with BioHealth Diagnostics, lab testing, Metametrics, a couple other labs. I was fortunate to get, supplement accounts with Designs for Health and Zymogen and some very, very reputable supplement companies, which also helped me really start to understand the complexities of supplementation and how to use what and when to use it.
Sure.
But at that same time, like I said, I wasn't super excited as I started to get sicker and sicker clients, is that kind of the things that I was seeing these patterns over and over again. It's like, if you run nowadays, if you run an adrenal test, everyone has adrenal fatigue.
Right.
It's like this sort of
in shape for sure.
Dude, it's this super nebulous term that everyone throws around and trainers want to utilize it to get their clients, and not necessarily in a negative way, but it's something that people in the general population, they have an idea of, but they don't really know what it is. And I guess it's kind of the same idea with the trainers and strength coaches and then medical doctors don't really recognize it as being something, but we know there's something there. My point is that I was seeing these patterns consistently. Like I'd run adrenal tests, someone would have some stage of adrenal fatigue, and you know, what we would do is say, look, man, you have to chill out. Like you have to start to put your lifestyle together in a way where you're going to mitigate the amount of stress that your body's perceiving, whether it's nutritional stress, digestive system stress, emotional stress, you know, is it your business stress, is it your family stress? And I was saying the same stuff to every single person, regardless of whether or not we had an adrenal test to actually prove that yes or no, there's something going on. And so it came to the point where it's like, I'm trying to, you know, I'm charging people like a good amount of money for running all of these tests when I just don't feel like it's necessary, because I'm preaching the same thing to them over and over again. And I don't want to get to the complexity of wanting to run these ridiculous herbal protocols to heal parasites when there's other stuff going on. And beyond that is I really did start to feel like it was beyond the scope of my practice. Like I started to create a really good team of practitioners in the Scottsdale area, naturopathic doctors that I could start to refer to, say, look, you know, this is something that I don't have the capabilities or experience or knowledge to deal with. And I don't want to pretend like, you know, I'm capable of dealing with that.
Well, the last thing you wanted, if I'm inferring correctly too, is you didn't want to go and get your doctorate. Right?
Well, yeah. So it's funny you should say that, is because I definitely, I've always been steeped in academia. My dad has, both my parents have master's degrees. My dad has a PhD in molecular biology, and then
that's awesome.
A law degree. And so academia has always been something that's been very important to me. Obviously getting a solid education, but being a trainer, being more holistic, if you will, or alternative minded, I've always been more rooted in not just what the data says, not just what the research says, but also, you know, what anecdotal evidence says. What am I seeing in my practice time and again? And what am I hearing, Jay, from experienced practitioners that believe in adrenal fatigue, as an example, are saying, look, this dude has parasitic stuff going on, and whether or not a lab test is showing it or not, or you know, whatever it is. And so I've really tried to marry those two throughout my career.
Sure. Well, I mean, if I would, you know, just to step in and just kind of interject, you know, empiricism is always, in my opinion, the ultimate determinant. I mean, just sure, the data is great, but there's always outliers. There's always people that just don't conform to the mean. So you're right, like that general hands-on experience. And then, as you said too, you know, kind of crowdsourcing with all the people that you're working with and communicating. I feel that that's always a better data set, you know, in the big picture with everyone, so to speak, than just relying on, you know, the research, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I really try and utilize that. And I rely on research, you know, when I can as well, to back that up, you know, as much as possible. But, you know, you mentioned Charles Poliquin previously, but he's a really good example of stuff he's been doing for 20 years in the strength training field. And you know, people have always said, well, where's your evidence for doing X amount of sets? Or
look at my biceps, bro. That's my evidence.
Dude, slow eccentrics. And now stuff's coming out. He's like, yeah, I've been doing that for 20 years. I mean, I don't need a research study to tell me that. But, you know, it's along those lines. And so I wanted to, again, continue to dig deeper into nutrition, and then bringing up the academia is when I decided in 2010 to go back and get a second master's degree, this one in clinical nutrition, so that I could really, exactly what we're talking about, just so I could back up my types of recommendations, learn more about herbal interventions and why they're important, learn about Eastern medicine. And so I found a great program through University of Bridgeport in Connecticut, and they have a degree in human nutrition. And it's really it's research based, but it also marries that practical application, and also blends in diagnostic testing as part of a way to, for lack of a better term, diagnose someone. Right. Because we certainly don't diagnose or treat, but just understand what's going on with someone's physiology and biochemistry.
So I'm glad you talked that, and I don't want to go offshoot because I have some more points I want to make, and obviously let you talk about your supplement company and your experience with the Golden State Warriors. I know that's going to be an awesome conversation point, but I'm really big into Far Eastern stuff. Okay. I'm big into like the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment. And I want you to talk a little bit about what you learned with the Far Eastern medicine stuff, or the practice or the approach. Like, how important do you think that actually really is in the scope of your practice, or not your practice? I talked to so many doctors. Sorry, it's kind of.
No, you're good.
But I mean, like, how really underplayed is it, and how really, and again, your opinion, speak as freely as you want, is how important is embracing, the mind, and how powerful the mind is in healing, and obviously in all the other different modalities that you're, working in a day-to-day basis.
So I think it's incredibly important, but I don't have like a formalized education, and I personally have not delved into a lot of that stuff, although I do think it's important. What I can speak to is the importance of utilizing herbs for improving our health, and obviously herbal supplementation and stuff like that. And then looking into like, what research do we have, and have we had for, whether it be 50 years or 100 years on certain herbs, and what conditions that they are specifically good for, and looking through the literature and then using that to sort of back up recommendations. All I can speak to is like, what types of herbs and what potency and sort of dosages, and how are they utilized, and are they tinctures, or are they,
Sure.
Are they powder forms, or whatever. So I think you have a very valid point. I just can't speak to it.
That's fine. So well, then give me, or just give the listening audience, 3 herbs that you would say, again, just for an average person who exercises, strength trains, is into, optimal living, 3 herbs that someone that should be taking on a day in, day out basis.
Sure. Turmeric. We know that the healing powers of
5 grams a day is what I recommend if you're injured, but yeah, amazing stuff.
Yeah. And getting the potent forms of the curcumin, which is the active ingredient. So we know that there's obviously incredible importance there in looking at turmeric specifically for inflammation support.
Absolutely.
We know of the cardiovascular benefits of just utilizing garlic, right? And this doesn't even have to be in supplement form, although there are forms that are very potent. But even utilizing garlic in a way where, for example, like by smashing the garlic and then allowing it time to release what's called the allicin or allicin in it. I'm not exactly remembering exactly which component, but it's allicin or allicin is how it actually becomes a more active ingredient in terms of cardiovascular benefits and stuff like that. What else?
Kind of put you on the spot.
Put me on the spot, man.
I know, man. Well, I mean, you're the expert. I mean, I would say, depending on a person's cardiovascular health, I think COX, coenzyme Q10, in the correct form with Kaneka or whatever at 200 milligrams. I mean, obviously for risk factors for people that have heart disease, it's a great supplement. And then I'm a huge believer in obviously vitamin D. I mean, we're kind of going down the path and stuff like that, assuming you have a blood deficiency.
Yeah, we can definitely get into that stuff when I talk about the Golden State, but just in regards to herbs, like we can look at some of the things that support adrenal health.
Specific
ashwagandha and all those adaptogenic herbs.
Yep.
Some of the different mushroom compounds for immune support are incredibly beneficial. So I think,
how many people, let me ask you this, then stay right there and then we'll jump to where we want to go. How many people do you feel like have really poor gut biomes? Like an average population, like how often do you find people that you work with are just, their gut biomes are a mess? And how important do you think that the gut biome health is to a person's overall, standard of being optimally alive?
I venture to say 90% of people have terrible gut health.
Right.
I mean, come on. And it's
so true.
And it's insanely important.
It is, man.
Right? Our gut, our immune system is housed in our gut, and our gut is responsible for our neurotransmitters. So it's important for our immune system health. It's important for our neurotransmitter production. It's obviously important for our digestion and sort of the integrity of that mucosal barrier, and maintaining the integrity of that mucosal barrier is so important. And it seems like everything that we do depletes it, whether it be stress, the shitty food that we eat, alcohol consumption, environmental toxicity,
right,
right? And so, yeah, it's,
Well, is it even possible? I mean, obviously, I make this debate when I speak with doctors and lecture and stuff like that, and talk to people too about, you know, the endocrine system disruption we have and why so many people are imbalanced now hormonally. Is it even possible, Benjamin, living in a, you know, large coastal population center like both you and I live, you know, you being in Phoenix, me being in Southern California, to avoid this quote unquote, you know, siege, you know, state that we find ourselves in from plasticizers? You know, like you said, engineered food. I mean, is it even possible to avoid it? I don't think it is, unless you're living in the wilds of Montana.
it's not possible.
Off land. I mean,
You know, and it comes down to like, just, it is what it is. You know, it's like, yeah, we can go and move in a perfect world. Yeah, we'll go move to the middle of Montana and
right.
and grow our own food. And,
Right.
you know, I mean, okay, some people are doing that. That's awesome. And I, you know, applaud that, but
Not realistic, man. I'm not moving.
Who's that realistic for? So with that said, it's like, what can we do to modulate those disruptors constantly? Like, we have to be vigorous about our pursuit of maintaining that gut integrity and avoiding the, you know, environmental toxicity. And that's along the spectrum, Jay, of like, how serious are people willing to be about it? Like, yeah, you can grow your own food, and you can make sure you're only drinking out of glass water bottles, and you can make sure you have an infrared sauna in your house, you know, and you can make sure you're sleeping away from, you know, Wi-Fi and it's off, and no electrical outlets, and
no blue light.
You're grounding and no blue light, and you go on and on and on. And you know what? It's all relevant, but it's like, you tell someone that and they're like, fuck off. Like,
exactly.
That's not realistic for me. I'm a busy executive. I have a family. Like, we live in the middle of the city.
Right.
Quality of life. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, man. We speak the same language. This is an awesome podcast. So let's talk a little bit about, so clearly, and we can transition either direction. I want to talk about your supplement company. I want to talk about your experience with Golden State. So your knowledge working with, you know, the guy in Northern California, getting all these accounts with these like exotic supplement companies that are, you know, creating individualized formulations and whatnot. What led you down the path of starting your own supplement company? I mean, just, was it the experience, or did you just decide, like, you know what, I'm going to create my own formulations. A lot of this shit is bullshit. Here's what I can do.
Yeah. So like I said, I was just in the trenches, and I was just grinding, you know, training a ton of clients. I was studying for my master's, my second master's degree. We had, at the time I started my master's, we had just had my first daughter. So she was 6 months old. And of course, trying to put as much plate on my, you know, as much stuff on my plate as possible, I decided to start a master's degree. My wife's like, you're an idiot. But of course she's supportive of the process.
It was 4 a.m. and you were studying in one arm and you had your baby right here. Well, I know.
Oh my, that was when I was the fattest. Like, that was that sort of, just like when I had to just let it go. And I've never been fat in my life, but you know, maybe.
I know what you're saying. You had carb face. I get it.
Yeah. So, okay. So I was training clients.
Yep.
I was carrying a ton of inventory. Like, you know, I had a rationale for why to use certain supplements, when to use them. So of course I was carrying a ton of different products.
Oh, you need this. Here you go.
Yeah, you need this. And look, I mean, I'm running a personal training business. Like, I need to make supplemental income.
Of course.
It only makes sense. And I believe firmly in the quality of the products. But it came to the point, Jay, where it's like, okay, I'm carrying all these products. It's taking me time to do inventory. I'm spending, it's a ton of cash flow to carry supplements.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just it's really a pain in the ass. The margins suck. And it's sort of like, okay, this isn't making a ton of sense. And about that time, I was working with a client who was referred to me by a local naturopath. And he was sort of a high-stressed, overweight, young dude. I mean, at the time I started working with James, who's now my business partner. He was 27 and significantly overweight, high stress, low thyroid, on testosterone therapy.
1 foot in the grave, right?
Dude, like, just not doing well. And he showed up and we really worked really hard on getting his stress levels in check, putting him on a solid training and nutrition plan.
Sorry about that. Somebody's
You're good.
My bad.
And so a few months go by, he's getting great results. And I'm slowly, as I do with most clients, just sort of titrating up on the products. Like I always focus on just the foundational stuff, which we'll talk about at first. And then I started to throw in some BCAAs and essential amino acids and some electrolytes. And there came a point one day where I gave him a product. It was an essential amino acid powder. And he's like, this looks really familiar. He's like, I know my brother-in-law manufactures this product in town here. And I was like, well, what do you do again? And so he was running a logistics warehouse, logistics being like he would house other people's supplements and facilitate the distribution, right? And his wife's family, turns out that they were in supplement industry for years and years. His father-in-law being one of the more alternative medicine guys in terms of starting supplement industry and
Nice.
and direct mail distribution. And so they were manufacturing everything in town. And he said, if you're ever interested in doing something yourself, we can just go sit down at the manufacturer and kind of talk about it and what it would look like and
That's
see if
awesome,
it
man.
makes sense. And so we kind of got the ball rolling and got my wheels turning because I didn't necessarily think it was something that was even tangible. Like,
Right.
I didn't know anyone in the industry and everything like that.
Right.
So I basically just wrote down a laundry list of things with the intention being like, how can I take all of these products that I'm currently using in and around people's workouts, the things that I think are the most valuable for what they're doing with me. Like they're coming in, they're training with me. I want to make sure I'm maximizing their training and kind of condense them. And so long story short, I came up with basically an essential amino acid powder, all 9 essential amino acids, heavy on the BCAAs. And then we threw in citrulline, right, for improved aerobic and anaerobic function, improved work capacity, decreased fatigue, electrolytes, so sodium, magnesium, potassium in good forms, like chelated forms that are easily absorbable.
So is this in a powder?
Yeah, so
yeah. I was reading about it. I was looking at that supplement. It looks pretty interesting. I'll probably buy it from you.
I'm going to send you a bottle. I just had to get your address.
I'll take that.
I'll shoot you a bottle.
Just be careful because I just entered the supplement space, man. I'll steal your invention. No, I'm just kidding.
Fuck off.
I truly appreciate that. But we can talk about supplements after the show. But continue. We
will. Okay, so our product is called Complete Essentials. And basically what we came up with, we decided after I created the whole laundry list and then they came out, you understand how it is. Like you come up with these ideas and then you give it to the manufacturer and they price it out. You're like, holy crap, that's obviously not realistic.
Yes, I do. I wish I didn't know that stuff. But
oh my gosh. And especially like, dude, I'm like a lowly personal trainer. I can't afford to have a 10,000 bottle run,
right.
And so you're coming out with these really small runs, which are costing you a ton. And then if you look at the cost of essential amino acids in good quality forms, they're super expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm convinced that's why most people don't have essential amino acid powders on the market, except for some big companies. They're insanely expensive. So it costs us a ton of money to manufacture these products.
Yep.
But my intention was, as I said, is like, let me come up with something that's going to be more of an all-in-one workout powder. I don't need you taking a BCA, an essential amino acid, and electrolytes, a citrulline. Like it's not realistic for people. Okay. No one's going to stick with it because it's too many products. It's too expensive. And then me being on the trainer end, it's too hard to navigate through all that. It's not worth my time and effort. And so I really went into this with the objective of saying, look, Jay, you're a personal trainer. I understand, and I understand your pain, and I understand what you're struggling with is you need a way to make some supplemental income. You're carrying supplements. Is there something that I can provide to you that not only is going to make it worthwhile for you to carry a product that is going to help you sort of improve your revenue and decrease your expenses, right? And then also something that's going to give your clients really good results. And so that was the process of coming out with our Complete Essentials.
Awesome.
And so it was really a mission, and it's been a mission of not just providing a great product to our clients, but also really wanting to help out personal trainers, strength coaches, gym owners, naturopathic doctors, nutritionists, as a means, you know, to help them make it easier on their business and help improve their outcomes. So
that's awesome. Well, I mean, we'll save that for even maybe a future podcast, because you fascinate me. I mean, you and I can go really, really deep in this kind of stuff. I don't get a lot of dorks that I can talk to about the supplement business like you do, and you could probably share a wealth of knowledge for us too. Because dude, we literally 500 bottle run. It's already pre-sold out. My biochemist guru partner, Jim Brown, our nootropic is amazing, but I've been through all of what you're talking about. Triple trademarked ingredients, $18, including shipping a bottle, where our main competitor, which is Alpha Brain in the marketplace, is like $7 literally.
Yeah,
and their shit is shit. I'm not going to sit here and disparage other people, but you and I know that the average supplement owner is probably putting lint film off of Home Depot floors in their supplements. But so guys like you and me, it's all about authenticity and transparency. And our products are like, hey man, we're putting out legitimate. And by the way, you don't believe us, go test it, because we do that. But you're right. When you start putting legitimacy on a bottle, it's expensive to manufacture, right? Like we got all these guys in the supplement industry telling us like, you're spending how much to manufacture nootropic? And we're like, dude, because we're putting in triple trademark real stuff. We want stuff that works.
We want results.
No proprietary blends.
Yeah, and we're just not going to make up for it with our marketing, marketing.
Anyway, you and I will talk about that in another podcast, because I know we can go really deep. But so from that, so how many products do you have? And then I want you to seed that into how you got hooked up with the Golden State Warriors. And obviously, I want you to spend some time talking about that.
Yeah. That's our only product. So we have our complete essentials.
You're just like me, man. We're the same.
Well, we've been on the market for about, about 2 years, but we've really been doing, sales for like 18 months.
That's awesome, man. Good for you.
It's been an incredible process. Right now we're selling mainly wholesale to practitioners.
That's awesome.
Our goal for 2017 is go more retail market. I'm going to start to boost their content a lot more and stuff like that. I mean, we firmly believe in our product. We really do have an excellent product. And
for sure. I was reading all the interviews and watching the videos. You know what, honestly, dude, me and you, I got to connect you with Josh, my business partner, who's the master Facebook funnel builder and stuff like that, because I'm sure there's synergies you guys can share and we could probably help you. He's got a whole team of people. So if you want to go retail, dude, he's in Phoenix too. So this is
really? Okay. Perfect. I'd appreciate it.
You're getting together, man.
Yeah,
sure.
I appreciate it. That sounds awesome. So, so I'm really happy with where we are, considering is both James and myself, who's my business partner, we both been running full-time other businesses in addition, and you get it, right? So in addition to this has been a side venture that is now I'm sort of priming it to just make it like, it's my baby, and I want to.
Exactly. Well, honestly, bro, you can make a lot of money in the supplement industry if you do it right. And you guys have clearly done it right. 18 months in the wholesale space is amazing, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. And but to be honest, the best part for me has been connecting with other coaches throughout the last 2 years. That's and awesome. really getting to kind of resonate with, what's their pain, what's their business look like, what's their business model look like, is there something that I can do to help them, and just understanding in the grand scheme of things, especially like personal training industry, it's so closed off. Personal trainers feel like they're on their own, they're on a deserted island because they're the freak that trains all the time, they're the freak that is super, into their nutrition when everyone else is gluttonous. And it's just.
No, I'm going to pass on that 6-pack, bro. Yeah,
right?
I get it.
So having the opportunity to connect with all these coaches has been amazing and just going to different seminars and just putting it out there, and just passing out sample packets and just, reaching out to other trainers through Facebook and all that stuff. So, let me move on to Golden State. But basically with Golden State, it was sort of circuitous of my rugby. One of my coaches is married to the head performance coach with Golden State. And I met her a couple of years ago. Her name's Chelsea Lane, and she's incredible. She's just such a forward thinker and progressive in what she's doing. And she got hired onto the team. at the beginning of last season. And of course they had an incredible run, and she had the opportunity to sort
It
of
hasn't ended yet.
No. Last season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, tough playoffs, but
Yeah.
but we had been communicating, like she had reached out a couple of times to ask about some supplement advice for the teams, what some of the guys should be on. And
That's awesome.
and these teams are so strict about what they're putting out there, just from a legality standpoint. It all has to be
It's
NSF
crazy,
certified for sport, and there's only so many products that are NSF certified for sport,
man.
which that whole NSF certified for sport, don't get me started, but
right, because I'm thinking the same thing as you're saying that. Right, go ahead.
Yeah. But the point is that we had to sort of look at what we can plug in realistically with the guys. And so I just helped her facilitate some of that stuff, hooked her up with a couple companies that are NSF certified for sport, got that stuff going, gave her some basic nutrition stuff. And then she approached me at the beginning of this preseason and asked if I wanted to come on as a consultant, and really in the form of providing some information to the coaches and acting as a resource for the coaches.
That's awesome.
to kind of facilitate that stuff and funnel it down to the players, not necessarily bringing in someone brand new and saying, here's what you need to do.
Right.
Because the guys just don't respond well to that type of stuff. Obviously, they already have trust built with, to a certain degree, with the performance staff. So she had me come in, and I kind of put together this really fundamentals of nutrition guide that they could facilitate with the players, and really a fundamentals and kind of foundational supplementation program that they could facilitate with the program, with the athletes. And
by the way, are they even allowed to use your supplement, or is that illegal?
No, unfortunately. And so that took me down the
that's ridiculous.
I've got them on an essential amino acid.
Of course.
So
what's illegal? The malate?
No, it's that they're not NSF certified for sport. It's not that it's not illegal.
That's another podcast. Keep going.
It's not illegal. It's just they're really crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
Yeah.
Right? They just have to be really careful about it, because if someone tests positive for something,
you're screwed.
And from my standpoint too, is they could easily say, well, it's that product,
right,
because it hasn't been as thoroughly tested, even though we manufacture an NSF certified CGM facility and all of that stuff. So unfortunately they can't use mine at the present. And I don't have any intention of going down the NSF certified for sport route at this time, just because of the costs involved.
Yeah, sure.
So I put together guidelines and went and presented to the coaches and said, the way I look at it, and this goes for all clients in general, is sort of, dose response is what's the most effective things that we can do in the shortest amount of time that's going to make the biggest difference for these guys. It's like, let's be honest. I mean, some of their diets are horrendous.
I can only imagine. I mean, let's face it, man. I mean, the average NBA player, especially in their first 5 years, is a kid from the inner city.
Right.
Most likely African-American, if not African-American, impoverished, because let's face it today, and I speak high level with this because I played professionally. I played Division II.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, basketball is my life until I was 23 years old and realized I wasn't going to make money on it. But it's crazy. So they don't have any kind of upbringing or educational influence. Most of them, most successful are in college for at most, 9 months? You know what I mean? Or maybe 2 years, the best guys. So you're right. So their educational process is very, very low. So you're right. What are they eating? Fast food for the most part?
Right. Well, that's exactly it. So I'm trying to do my homework as I'm preparing to go and present to the coaches. And I'm sort of like massively overthinking things. And, I'm going to present to like this NBA staff, and, I need to make sure like I'm factoring in for biochemistry and all this ridiculous shit that was totally unnecessary. But when I broke it down, and I really started to break it down and was like, look, and when I started to get an idea of, I had the coaches send me some examples of what some of these guys were eating. And, it's your typical stuff. It's like, you're not eating breakfast. You go and train, and then from practice, they'll go and lift. And while they may have some protein shakes available, the guys aren't drinking them and no one's making sure that they drink them. And then from practice or training, they'll go and pick up Chick-fil-A, and then who knows what they're doing for dinner. And then, maybe they're going out and partying at night.
And imagine, but I always say this, imagine what they still put on, right? So it's like genetics is the amazing ultimate determinant, right? Because these guys are eating like shit. Half of them are probably, getting wasted still at night, and they're still jumping 50 inches off the floor.
Right. Well, that's why it's like when you can make a case for saying, and so a lot of guys, will be like, oh, dude, you're a nutrition consultant for professional sports teams. Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter what they eat. Yeah, well, maybe in the cute phase, it doesn't matter. Like, we've seen it time and again. Like, these guys are eating crap, they're drinking crap, and they're performing at the highest level, but it doesn't say anything to what's happening for their joint tissue integrity, longevity, injury.
Well, first off, we know it matters. Of course it matters. Over time, none of these guys last. Why did Michael Jordan, was he playing when he was 41 years old? Because he was a maniac. Everything that went into his body, everything was measured. Everything was looked at. So I don't mean to cut you off, but it does matter. So keep going.
Yeah, of course it matters. But that was the thing that Chelsea approached me with specifically, is like, what can we do to get these guys on a path to, really look at longevity.
Yeah, longevity.
Integrity. I mean, these guys have 100 games in a season. So, what they're doing before, after, during a game, yes, it matters, but really more important is how do we keep these guys healthy, their joints healthy throughout a season? And then, when we talk about some of these guys playing another 8 or 10 years, that's millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if you're a top 3 player on a team and you're a franchise qualified player, that's $100 million, Benjamin.
Yeah, Kevin Durant has a 2-year, $50 million contract with Golden State. So it really matters what he's doing with his nutrition day in, day out, especially when he says, I want to play for another 9 years.
When that guy came into the league, when I look at his body, I was like, no way. But then I look at some of these kids now today, and there's so many of them are so skinny, but so skilled. And then even him with that body that he has, he seems to he's so quick and so agile. He seems to be able to avoid contact.
Amazing player. He's an unbelievable athlete.
Is he a good guy too? I mean,
He's such a good dude. He's such a good dude. Awesome. And he has, and I have to give props to his chef, Chef Ryan, has done an amazing job. Chef Ryan's been with him since Oklahoma City.
Good for him.
And when I went out there and I had the opportunity to meet with KD and kind of go over his nutrition and kind of see what he was doing and help just put some basic guidelines in place in terms of what can the chef do to just make it easy for Kevin to make really good decisions throughout the day. And the chef was on point. I mean, he already was doing some really great stuff just in terms of providing really quality food, making sure he's getting a good amount of protein, lots of veggies, starchy carbs, at each of his meals and everything like that.
So would you say then the majority of the top echelon guys there, Curry, Klay Thompson, KD, obviously Draymond Green, are these guys all serious about their nutrition so that like when someone like you comes and talks to them, they listen? Or no? Be honest.
I can't speak to what the other guys are doing. I do know that the upper echelon guys on the Golden State are they either have private chefs, they're using nutritionists. They are getting much more serious about the importance of their daily nutrition.
Right.
And so, when I just reviewed really the basic stuff, Jay, with the coaches, it's like, we got to get a better idea of what these guys are doing on a daily basis. And what are the things that we can control for is from the time they walk into the practice facility to the time they walk out, can we shuttle as much nutrition into them as possible so that what they're doing later on in the day, it's going to make a difference, but we don't have to depend on them doing something that takes an extra step. So when they walk in, what sort of breakfast is provided to them by the cooking staff? What sort of supplements are we giving them? What are they taking pre-practice, throughout practice and training, throughout their workouts, post-workout? Can we get an adequate amount of protein, carbs, electrolytes in them, and then set them up obviously for more success down the road.
That's awesome, man. So So real quick, so we've been on like about almost 46.5 minutes, and I try to keep them under 50 to 55 minutes. I mean, this is fascinating. You and I could talk forever.
Yeah.
I want you to kind of just to finish up by saying, you know, and again, I don't want to make it too basic or whatever, but for the average person listening to the TRT Revolution podcast, and you and I both probably struggle with this because we get too technical and we start getting esoteric.
For
But
sure.
for the average person who listens to this podcast who's, you know, not in the best shape and looking at 2017 to make, you know, the quote unquote transition to get more optimal and live a healthier, you know, a life based on longevity. What's the best piece of advice that you would give that person? Again, male or female, it doesn't matter.
Well, a couple things. So people need to identify what their limiting factors are. Like everyone wants to get healthy. They want to get fit. They want to lose weight. They need to identify with the things that are keeping them from being successful, right? So is it, you know, your daily routine? Is it your lack of sleep? Is it your social support system? Are you being sabotaged when you go to work? Are you being sabotaged at home? How are you, you know, what type of people are you surrounding yourself with? You know, are you exercising? And sort of breaking it down and saying, what's one or two things that I can commit to that I know 100% I'm going to be successful with? I can commit to waking up earlier, 15 minutes earlier every day, and starting to cook breakfast for myself, right? I'm not going to give you the excuse that I don't have enough time in the morning to make myself a decent breakfast. That's the biggest BS excuse there is. And we hear it over and over again. Dude, wake up earlier or go to bed, you know, go to bed earlier and quit playing Halo or watching, you know, some Game of Thrones
Just
or something.
throw your fucking TV out of your house.
Yeah. So I think with respect to identifying the limiting factors is then people need to commit to being consistent. Right. And saying, well, can I be consistent with just waking up earlier, 15, 30 minutes earlier so that I can make myself a decent breakfast? Doing that alone, we know is going to help them make better decisions throughout the rest of the day. Planning to do that is even more important. So knowing the night before, right? I'm gonna have, you know, eggs mixed with veggies, and I'm gonna cook it in a little bit of butter, and I need to make sure I have all that stuff ready to go. It's in my fridge, and I have the alarm set, and boom, you know. So having some of those steps outlined, and then committing to it and doing it, and then, you know, improving from there, right? What's the next step? Well, now I'm feeling empowered. I'm feeling more confident. I'm having more energy throughout the morning. I don't feel like I need as much caffeine or sugar or energy drink. And then I'm going to make a better decision at lunch. So I'm going to stop going to, you know, Chipotle and getting the burrito, but maybe I'll go to Chipotle and I'll just get a salad and, you know, right?
It's so funny you just said that because Monica and I went this morning. We drove by, on the way to the gym early in the morning, drove by a McDonald's at 6:15 in the morning, bro, and it was literally 25 cars at the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, a really excellent point. So just, dude, I want to speak longer with you, but I find that people after 50 minutes like lose attention. So how can people find you online? How can they buy your supplement?
So let's see, my consulting website is bodysystemsaz.com, and I'm on social media a little bit, is at bodysystemsaz.
Not much is working with people.
Yeah, I'm
not
actually
social media people. He had to make time to do my podcast.
And then my supplement company, BSL Nutrition, is www.bslnutrition.com, and we're social media at BSL Nutrition. Like I said, you know, we're not really out there too much. We're new and growing, but I will be putting out more content very shortly.
Awesome.
So people can go to the website. I can even, you know, what I'll do is I'll put together a little discount for your followers.
That'd be awesome.
A discount code.
That'd be awesome.
What's something that you guys like a slogan or something I can use as a discount code?
Just say TRT Revolution or something like that.
TRT Revolution. Yeah. So the discount code at checkout is going to be TRT Revolution.
Awesome.
And I'll kick you guys a 20% discount.
Awesome, man.
On product.
That's completely awesome. So when I hang up, when I hit stop here in a second, I want to talk to you about Josh because I want to connect you guys because I see awesome things. But brothers, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This is an epic podcast. Definitely going to have you back. We're going to go deep on supplements.
Cool.
And spend some time there. But thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much, Jay.